Some flies should be fun to tie. You should look forward to it. I know you're going to enjoy this one. Some of the fun is gathering up all the material. Now I've got a bunch of hair already picked out. And we're going to tie a fly that was introduced to me in New Zealand by a guide friend, Tony Entwistle. Tony fishes the Buller River, and they have a lot of caddis in New Zealand. And he discovered, as many anglers do, that the fish love the case caddis. And we're going to tie one that a little bit different than the way you've dubbed before. We're going to actually weave it. And this is going to be a technique maybe you haven't seen before. We're going to use this little tool here called a dubbit. Now, when Tony first started tying the fly, he actually dubbed in guard hair to make it, give the effect of the sticks and the rocks and everything that goes into a case caddis. It's like thinking of a cocoon. These little caddis are going to gather up the rocks and the sticks and the grass and form this case. And we're going to imitate it just about the same way you tie an irresistible. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to use a little bit heavier thread, and I've got a mono thread made by Uni-Thread up in Canada, and it's a very strong 3/0. Now the hook that I put in is a Dairiki, and it's a 070. It is a wet fly hook and very strong. We're going to lay our thread out and just move towards the bend of the hook. We're actually going to go down the bend about halfway and stop. Now, one of the things we're going to want to do with this fly is we're going to want to weight it. We're going to use a little lead. We're going to wrap it on the hook. Now, there's several ways you can wrap this lead. You can put it towards the back, or you can move it more towards the front, or you can put lead all the way through the fly, just like I'm doing right now, and that will really give you a heavily weighted fly. Realize this fly really comes from the bottom. The current has broke them off the rocks, and they're tumbling down. So we want to fish it fairly deep. Now be careful when you're trimming the lead. Don't squeeze down on your scissors. Just push the lead against your scissors and it'll cut the lead, and you won't ruin your scissors. Now I'm going to take my fingernail and push down the lead so there's no sharp edges, and then I'm going to wrap through the lead with my thread. Now I'm coming back to the bend of the hook. At this point we're going to add some possum. Yes, some Australian possum. Now, you don't have to use Australian possum. You can use a lot of other materials. Black calf tail works quite nicely. You could say this is a tail, but it really isn't. What it is a stick. The caddis actually starts with a stick and weaves around it. So it kind of sticks out the back like a tail. We're going to add this in, and it tends to be darker, almost a black or dark chocolate. We're going to tie it in, and it's going to hang just like a tail. Now we'll trim that a little later on. Again, we're going to lay our thread through. Now we're ready to form a dubbing loop. We're going to go to our dubbit tool. First of all, we're going to go to a very sticky wax. This happens to be a Gerke's wax, and we're going to give it a wax coat. We don't care about wax buildup here. We just want to make sure that it's sticky enough to stick to the type of hair we're going to put in the loop. Now we're going to form this loop by taking the tool and putting it at the bend of the thread. As you can see, I'm making the loop. I'm kind of looking at it and saying, well, that's about what I want. Now I'm going to close the loop off by wrapping over the thread, just like that. At this point now we have a nice dubbing loop, and we can move our thread to the front. I'm going to touch it up a little bit more with wax. In fact, I may go back many times and grab this wax, because this wax is going to help us. Now, you had a chance to see the cross-cut dubbing technique with Joe Burke on his cross-cut scud. We're going to use the same technique here. We're going to lay in the material, and this happens to be some of the possum, in sideways, just like that. And we're going to make a variety of colors. Now, I've gone a little farther than the possum that Tony used in his original Buller Caddis, and I've added some rabbit, and I've kept the guard hairs in, as you can see right here. Now, one of the things you want to be careful of is not to make sure that the hair doesn't bunch up. You want it fairly loose so that when it spins, it's going to flare out. You can see I've got some of the hair in there, and it's looking kind of messy right now. Now I've actually added some deer hair. You'd say, deer hair? What in the world are you doing, Dennis? And I've got some coyote, kind of a light colored. The object is to get some different materials in there that will look like rocks and sticks and kind of all kinds of other things. And I'm just varying the material, just adding what I might find. Now you might think, wait a minute here. Could I clean up my bench and use things in here? You certainly could. In fact, I kind of look around sometimes and just see what's hanging around. Well, look at this. I've got some hen hackle. Now, boy, that might look just like a stick sticking out. A lot of you are going, what in the world is this guy smoking or drinking or whatever? But really, I have a method to my madness. There's some light-colored material. Again, I want this to be a variety of color and materials. I'm going to throw in a little elk hair. And now I kind of vary the colors, so I have a variegated style. You could even take a little bit of crystal flash if you wanted, just to throw in there. Just whatever might suit your fancy. It's all up to you. I'm getting where I pretty much used up all the materials that I had picked out. I always try to pick it out ahead of time and lay it out. And you want to tie more than just one fly when you do this. A little bit more possum, I think we got it. Holy mackerel, do we have a mess there. Looks like a bad hair day, doesn't it? Right now, we're going to make sure everything's in there. Now, sometimes I'll put, it's kind of fun, is I'll put even some peacock in there. Ooh, something caught my eye here, a little bit of light-colored deer hair, kind of an olive, and maybe a little bit more possum. Possum has a wonderful color, nice brown color. Okay, we're ready to start. Now here comes the fun. We're going to spin it. Oh boy, look at it go. Oh, it's really looking like a mess now. Look at that. Does that look like a bad hair day or what? Now I'm going to take my scissor points here and get some of the hair that's bunched up. Move it around just a little bit. Pull some of it out. Spin it some more till it's nice and tight. Now this Patriot vise, I can move it down a little bit and we can rotate it. Now I could use my vise like this. Now I can show you by half hitching. Right there, I could cut my thread and then I could spin it just like this. Now that works fine if you have a rotary vise. That's fun. Now let's say you don't have a rotary vise, what are you going to do? Because I'll tell you, when you start wrapping this and you don't have the rotary system, you're going to catch the bobbin and this is going to slip off the little loop down here. So what we do is we find these wonderful hackle pliers that can do about anything, these rotary hackle pliers. We grip the thread. Notice it's kept the conglomeration of fur all nice and neat, and we just do this little number right here. And we've just made our vise into a rotary vise. This tool is a hair jammer. Works good for any type of spun deer hair or flared deer hair type flies. But I'm going to use it on this dubbing. I pulled it tight, I'm going to stick the hair jammer in and push it, and that'll make everything come up really nice. Now at this point I've got to tie it back off. So I'll go back with my thread and start it over again. Now of course I could leave the thread here, or the bobbin and the thread here, if I was using my rotary hackle pliers all the time. So the only time you detach the bobbins when you use the rotary feature. Now I'm going to tie it off. You're still probably wondering what the heck I'm doing. That's all right. It'll become evident in a moment. Again, I'm going to push a little hair jammer. Now this hair jammer is neat because it's got different sizes in it. There we go, nice and tight. Now at this point I'm going to add one final little feature. Two ways you can do this: peacock or dubbing. And what it's going to imitate is the little caddis sticking its head out of the case. So we just put a little olive. Now there's olive and tan or black, whatever your caddis colors are. Add it right in there nice and tight. And we just put it right on the head, just like that. Now it looks like a porcupine with a small head. But finish. And now this is where the fun becomes. Take our scissors and trim. Start, kind of easy, bringing it down. You have to have something in mind here. Now, if you've looked on your streams and you know that your caddis have a cylindrical body, you've got to trim it that way. If you know they have a big, thick, box-shaped size, then you got to trim it that way. You have to have some kind of knowledge about how the case caddises are in your stream, or cadi. I don't know what the plural of caddis might be, or just a whole bunch of caddis. I'm working it down, sort of like irresistible. I'm turning it on the vise. Having a rotary vise will make it a lot easier to tie this fly. As you can see, I don't have to hold it in my hand as I trim. One of the beauties of this fly is you can take materials from just about any part of your bench and you can use your own creativity. Again, on the trimming, that's going to be totally up to you. That's a personal choice of how you want to trim this fly. Once you get good at it, you can turn them out quite fast, and they'll really work for you. So give this little case caddis a try. We call it the Buller Caddis. Well, that's it, folks. But don't despair. We've got another volume 2 of this video coming, where you can discover some more of my friends and some of their patterns. I hope you've had fun. I've had a great time introducing you to my friends. And let's hope that we get a chance to meet sometime out on the stream. Thank you very much.